Live from the Talking Joe studios, it's Talking Joe.
Talking Joe is on the air. Hey, it's me, Mark, and welcome to Talking Joe, the G.I. Joe Comics podcast. Now, today, we are coming live stream to you with an episode talking about G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, issue 325. It's a 25 issue anniversary, which was released Wednesday, February the 11th, 2026. We're recording this or broadcasting this on Saturday the 14th, Valentine's Day. So hopefully you don't have anything too much else going on today. One person who doesn't and is able to join me live, it's a real American Tim. It's a real in the hot water with his wife Tim. It's Tim Finn.
Actually, today, except for the podcast live stream, the decks are sort of cleared because this year, the day before and after Valentine's Day are quite busy.
I heard a good joke this week, Tim, about Valentine's Day.
Is it G.I. Joe related also?
Not quite, but
okay.
You can pretend that it's about Duke.
Okay.
If you see Duke out for a romantic evening on Friday the 13th of February, he's out with his mistress. If he's out for a meal on Valentine's Day itself, February the 14th, he's out with his girlfriend. And if he's not going out at all, he's married. So there we go. Cynicism.
I'm thinking too hard because Duke is married.
Well, yes. Maybe Duke just sort of took you down a route that I tried to make it G.I. Joe related.
That's right.
Okay.
Right. Now I'm worried about Duke.
Hello to everyone watching live, like Infinite Entertainment. Hello, lads. Happy Valentine's Day, he says. So if you are watching live, please do feel free to drop in with a comment. We are talking about the special 325th anniversary issue. It's the anniversary that everyone celebrates the biggest. Two all-new Joes make their first appearance as Duke and Roadblock lead a dangerous covert op into Borovia. I don't think that's my typo. I think that must be someone else's typo. A new era for G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, starts here. It's big words, Tim. A new era. But do they deliver? We will find out very soon. Let's get into it with a little bit of news. So a bit of business from last time. I think this was Greg Augustin pointed out that in A Real American Hero issue 2114, that was the issue that featured the first appearance of the Sky Raven. This was the kind of funeral for Snake Eyes type issue, the boots ceremony, where they had a flyby of basically all of the G.I. Joe air vehicles, which included the Sky Raven, which I don't think I had really picked up on at the time.
Good job, Greg. Greg really knows G.I. Joe. And if you were at a convention and there was G.I. Joe trivia, you'd want Greg Augustin on your team because the toys and the character breakdown and we're reminded the comics knows his stuff.
Did you have Greg on your team at the trivia night that you did?
No, but my team came in second place, and I think I might have blogged about this. Emotionally, we came in first place, so no regrets.
I think there's going to be a trivia night at JoeFest this year, so maybe we can advance kind of book Greg to be on our team.
Yeah, maybe we can be a Talking Joe after action report. Unstoppable force, because Josh Egbean was on my team
I think this may have been option 38, who had previously joined us then.
Wait, am I complimenting Greg unnecessarily? I take it all back.
But we can compliment him on this next slide, which is a Greg Augustin graphic. He has color-coded the artists of the first 27 G.I. Joe issues from Real American Hero issues from SKYBOUND, with the pink or red denoting Chris Mooneyham, and the sort of bluey grey denoting Paul Pelletier. So the totalizer is up to issue 327. Chris Mooneyham is on 13 issues, with Pelletier on 11. So he is trailing behind. Although we know that he has got one more at least up his sleeve, so that'll make it 13 to 12. Oh, it's so close. There's all to play for in this competition that at least one participant isn't aware of.
And who are we forgetting? Cronky. Cronky drew an issue.
Cronky is in that other color, the sort of sepia-ish color. He has done one sort of standalone issue so far, and he will be the artist on the next two. So he is the tortoise in this particular race, sort of creeping slowly and steadily with a few issues here and there.
So in this analogy, the hair has been split in half. Oh, I guess the hair, there's the original hair, and then there's like the cloned hair who can talk.
Yeah, indeed. And also he did a Roadblock issue in the Real American Hero world as well. So we'll give him that one as well. So he's kind of up to 4. Here we go. A few more people in there. Hello to Matt. And we'll get into it in a second, Infinite Entertainment, but congratulations to Tim on the center holds. Let's save that thought for a couple of slides time. So, relatively recently, Larry Hama posted onto Facebook. He said, "Come June, I'll be 77, and I look around and see that most of my friends in my age range are retired, except for the comic creators. I include colorists, letterers, editors in that category. I remember going to work for Wallywood back when I was 22, and him telling me that guys like us, we don't retire, we just drop dead at the drawing boards. And you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way." So a sort of nice message there from Hama, celebrating his craft and letting us know that he wants to keep on Charlie Miking as long as he can. And on this post, can you see, did you notice, Tim, what's in the background? It looks like possibly...
I see that Sergio Aragone's drawing of a samurai framed on the wall. And then next to it, I can't quite tell what it is, but I have a feeling it's a Michael Golden. Oh, you're talking about the computer.
I was talking about the computer. I think he's got his designs for the new Joe characters on his computer monitor screen there. So I will have to send in a little note into old Alex Antone and ask if he can print those designs, if at all possible, in a future letter column. It is always fun to see the Hama thought process design work.
Mark, do we know Mooneyham drew a cover for this issue featuring these two new characters, and the original art for that cover went on sale a week ago. Did that sell yet? Were you tracking that?
I'm pretty sure that when I looked last, every single thing from that sale had sold.
Great. You don't have to look now. I'm just sort of speaking casually.
I am pretty confident that that absolutely everything went in the end. I was just looking ahead to another slide. So in the week just gone, Felix Comics Art, which is the art rep for many artists, but significantly Chris Mooneyham, he did an art drop for a lot of the most recent art from Chris Mooneyham. He has previously done one before that. Significantly, Chris Mooneyham does a lot of his work digitally, so not all of it exists as a physical object. I don't know if everything went in for sale that he'd done, which means that everything else is digital, or if he has sold other things or is holding onto it from a later date. But yeah, it was a number of covers, which was interesting to see that he sort of draws at a slightly more oversized size. The G.I. Joe covers and also the Hama file reprints and a number of other nice pages. I did try to get one, but I was a little bit too slow and missed out. But there was a good range of prices, and it didn't seem too extreme, that they were sort of like $200 up to about $500 for pages, which it felt like was slightly reduced on the previous drop, where not every single thing sold. And if you do want a piece of Chris Mooneyham original art, published original art, I believe that last I looked, there was a few pages from his earlier arcs.
Notable about this release of arts, it's not just a number of covers, it's 6 covers. And certainly we live in a world where a lot of comics have a lot of covers now because of variants. I can't think of, I haven't paid that much attention, but I can't think of anything like this for G.I. Joe, maybe ever, where all of a sudden 6 G.I. Joe covers were available for sale. And again, you know, one of them was for, 2 of them were for new issues and 4 of them were for reprints of old issues. But that has a different feeling. I did consider a page. The one that I was looking for wasn't for sale. So either it's not for sale yet, or it was drawn digitally. And is this where you remind people that Mr. Mooneyham has been confirmed for JoeFest this summer? And maybe you can go there and meet him in person in Augusta, Georgia, and maybe he'll draw for you. Maybe there'll be no line. Maybe he'll draw really fast. I don't know what the combination will be, folks. But
I think the last point probably less so.
Well, we've enjoyed having him on the show, and we certainly enjoy his G.I. Joe comic arts.
Yeah, very much look forward to seeing Chris Mooneyham at JoeFest. Great that they were able to get him in as a booking, and people can ask him for a sketch or get a signature on the front of a comic book, etc. Hopefully we'll be able to sit down with him and talk to him a little bit and put some of that on the older audio tape. Also at JoeFest, confirmed is Larry Hama, who is doing quite a few appearances of late. Rod Wiggum, the legendary Rod Wiggum, is back for an in-person appearance, having sort of stayed away from some of the convention scene for a few years. So it will be great to see him. Brian Shearer, G.I. Joe Inca from IDW Era, is back again at JoeFest, a regular there. And
who penciled and inked the Duke issue, right?
Exactly. I think he did two issues.
Okay. So mostly known as inked many issues of G.I. Joe, but penciled and inked 2 issues.
And did a couple of covers. Larry Houston hasn't done too many comics. I think he might have done one of the... Did he do one of the Saturday Morning Adventures covers?
Yeah, he penciled and Rick Hoberg inked the one that looks like the fight at the Statue of Liberty from the animated movie.
So that's...
but Larry Houston, folks, was a producer and director on the G.I. Joe cartoon in the 80s, and he co-wrote 1 episode.
Very good. And most famous for overseeing the opening sequence, the Statue of Liberty sequence for G.I. Joe, the movie. Robert Atkins, great artist on G.I. Joe from various eras, is also back at JoeFest, a relatively local boy for JoeFest, I think. And George Vega, I don't know if this is his first appearance or certainly first since being a published G.I. Joe artist on some variant covers, will also be there. And do you know who else will be there, Tim?
Mark and me.
There we go. Talking Joe will return to JoeFest as well, and we'll be bringing. We're leveling up our JoeFest appearance. We'll be having all sorts of extra exciting things with us that we haven't had previously. So we'll talk a bit more about that maybe a bit closer to the time. But I've been thinking about it, and we're going to do more stuff. So that is JoeFest news. Now, I don't know, Tim, did perhaps something exciting happen for you this week?
Yes. You want to go full screen on me since I've got a copy,
Okay,
folks. I'm no
okay.
longer holding the promo card from New York Comic Con that Boom printed in October. I'm now holding an actual comic book. I will turn it sideways and flip it to the back, and I'll flip it back to the cover again. Okay, Mark, I'm getting self-conscious.
When you held it up, it looked a bit fatter than a regular comic book, Tim.
Yeah, this issue is 40 pages. This is issue 1 of the Center Holds. This is a project that I initiated with Larry Hama and MD Bright a decade and a half ago. I said to them, I want you to make a comic. How can I make this happen? And they had a story, and Larry wrote a plot, and Mark penciled it and inked it, and Larry dialogued it, and I found a color artist and a letterer, and there were lots of hiccups along the way. And also I have 6 other jobs, so I wasn't working on it full time every single day, 7 days a week. And Mark, thanks, Greg. Greg says, congrats, Tim. I'm waiting for my copy in the mail. Looking forward to it. Mark Bright died in March of 2024. Unexpectedly, he had finished the book. And so Larry and I met his family. Larry and I pitched we thought of it as a 100-page graphic novel. We pitched it to Boom Studios in January of 2025. And the first issue was broken up into 4 parts, was published just a few days ago, the same day as G.I. Joe 325. Your local comic book store should have, hopefully has, the Center Holds issue number 1. And this is really lovely. Boom Studios is donating a portion of its sales of the whole series to the Hero Initiative, which is a wonderful nonprofit that offers financial assistance to comics creators in need. You may know that most comics artists, almost all of them, work freelance and don't get health insurance from publishers. And some comics creators, when they are down on their luck or older and don't have like a retirement, have challenges with rent or healthcare bills. And the Hero Initiative has stepped in and helped many wonderful comics professionals. And it was not my idea, it was Boom's idea. And this is sort of a nod because Mark isn't here to sort of enjoy the book. And it's a really lovely gesture on Boom's parts. And Mark, you and I have twice had on the show Michael Kelly, who used to be at Hasbro and very involved with G.I. Joe. And he's now the publisher, that's a title, at Boom Studios. That's a publisher, the company. And he's like the number 2 guy there, or the top 2 people are like tied for number 1. So it was Michael Kelly who Larry and I pitched the book to a year ago. And I'm very happy with how it turned out. And we are still adjusting issues 3 and 4. And actually, as I say this on Valentine's Day, on the 14th, folks, you can't catch your breath if you're behind on getting issue 1, because your comic book store's ordering deadline for issue 2 is this Monday, February 16th. Your store can order it afterwards, just like your store can, reorder issue 1 right now. But the deadline for like guaranteed copies, which the comics industry calls FOC, final order cutoff, is Monday, February 16th. Oh, wow. Infinite Entertainment says our store is completely sold out, hoping for more printings. Wow. Well, Infinite Entertainment, if my store has extras in a week or 2 and there is no second printing coming, maybe we can talk. That's fun news. Okay. And then me telling Facebook about the deadline for Monday for issue 2 was a little bit of a reveal. This stuff had been out there, but it hadn't been promoted so much. The cover artists for issue 2 Joe Quinones, penciling, inking, and coloring the main cover, working from a Larry Hama sketch. Ray Anthony Heights, and both a cover. Those two covers are available with or without logos. And then we have a cover using some Mark Bright design sketches, just pencil artwork on a white background.
Very cool. I was just going to add, while we're talking about comic creators with health problems and financial related issues, currently the fundraisers are still, the GoFundMe fundraisers are still live for Jamie Sullivan with the ongoing saga of his foot, and this week as well, Paul Allor, the former G.I. Joe writer, as well, has had some health difficulties and also got a fundraiser as well. So if you are in the mood to help some G.I. Joe creatives, sort of Google or search on Facebook, they will come up. The fundraisers for those two creators.
Can you go full screen on me one more time? Since I've been talking about comics and covers and variants, now that I'm actually holding into my hand, I just wanted to hold them up to the screen, right? So here's a cover for the Center Holds issue #1, penciled by Mark Bright, inked by Joe Quinones, colored by Joe Quinones. Here is cover B, which is drawn by Kari Randolph and colored by Joshua Jensen, excuse me. This has Cyber after a fight with Mr. Wright, with some money falling, and there's like fire around, and it looks like it's nighttime, and he's reaching for his Uzi. This one's available with and without logo. Cover, I'm getting my letters mixed up. Here's a cover by Jamal Igle. And Mark, remind us, what did Jamal Igle draw in the world of G.I. Joe? Because he's a G.I. Joe alum. Yeah,
he did some issues relatively early in the Devil's Due era, and he also drew an issue of IDW Special Missions.
Yeah, didn't he do issue 5 of Devil's Due right after the miniseries? I can't remember.
No. I think it was a little bit later. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so here's Mr. Wright and Cyber and Keeper chasing him. They're in their vehicle, which is sort of like the Havoc or the Monster Blaster APC, to use a G.I. Joe reference, and he's in his limo. And this one, Igle penciled and inked and colored all himself. We have a cover that's Mark Bright pencils only. That's the 1 in 50, and that comes sealed in a bag already with a Larry Hama signature. Larry signed those copies some time ago. That was done in advance. That's the rare one. If you're looking for the rarest the Center Holds comic, you're looking for cover A, B, C, D, I forget, the 1 in 50, and then this is the cover G, I think. It's a cover with no logo. So Bright and Quinones. Okay, enough of that. Thank you so much, everyone, for your interest and your support. And if you would like to maybe buy some at my comic book store or just meet Larry Hama, one of those signings that Mark alluded to, because Hama's doing a lot of signings right around now for G.I. Joe 325, is at Hub Comics, my comic book store in Somerville, Massachusetts. Somerville borders Cambridge and Boston. We're on the Green Line, and we're on several bus lines. And if you'd like to walk, we're a mile and a half from the Red Line. And there is some parking around the store. And this is Saturday. This is 1 week from right now when I'm saying this in this live stream, Saturday, February 21st. From 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. And as with all of Hama's signings these days, there's like 4 guidelines for sort of signatures that are free, signatures that cost money, selfies are free, and I don't know if we will be able to have Larry Hama draw sketches for people for money. It seems to me if there's a crowd of people, it may just be signatures and photos. But come on out, and we have many back issues of G.I. Joe. Folks, if you are missing IDW issues, we've got a lot of them at my store, and we've got all of the Skybound issues still at cover price, and the Skybound paperbacks, and heck, the Energon Universe and the Compendium, and the box sets. We've got the G.I. Joe Kickstarter hardcover compendium box set and the Transformer one too. So come spend some money at my store.
Very good. So in other G.I. Joe news, comic related news, Super 7 have revealed this wonderful looking new item, which is a new comic book accurate Cobra Commander from issue 1 of A Real American Hero back in 1982, with a packaged with the full comic inside of A Real American Hero, issue number 1, originally from Marvel back in 1982. This will be a Skybound branded reprint, as far as we know.
Can we assume it's the Hama cut, since with that line of dialogue restored, since that's the
most likely.
That's the only thing that Skybound and Image have been publishing.
Yeah,
that
I'd put
version
money
of
on
issue
it.
1. Okay.
So that will be cool, and hopefully the start of a brand new series of comic book reprints with comic book related O-ring figures. So, you know, I don't know if you've got your wish list of who you'd want to see, but like Billy, Cool Breeze, Dawn,
Oh man.
Quinn, you know, Flag, all of these characters.
Mangler, special mentions 13.
Although Mangler's not a particularly exciting costume,
no, that's true. That's true. What I do hope is what you just alluded to, jumping around for key issues or character appearances rather than a chronological, you know, issue 2, issue 3, issue 4, issue 5.
So I've put on screen the sort of the inspiration for this look, which was a version of Cobra Commander that wasn't quite on model to the toy. It had sort of these epaulets and sort of gold touches to his uniform. So it's cool that they are leaning into this particular look. And speaking of comic book related reveals, we have got the classified release of Dawn announced this week gone, which was unveiled at Midtown Comics signing, where Larry Hama was with the Hasbro team. So BMAC from the Hasbro marketing team came on and gave Larry a Dawn figure for him to hold, and he looked delighted to have that in hand, because Dawn, after all, is a character that he designed and has been writing for over 10 years now, and this is the kind of the first meaningful version of Dawn that we've kind of had outside of the comics, if you exclude that one sexy anime inspired statue.
So on the box, she's referred to first name, last name. Okay, Snake Eyes, Dawn Marino. Okay, interesting.
Yes.
I sort of feel like we're slowly sliding into her code name is just Dawn. It's not that they're calling her by her first name. You know, I mean, Scarlet, that code name is a color, and you know, Duke, that code name is, I don't quite know what that reference is, but you know, the sun comes up, Dawn.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think in the comics it feels like there was a relatively small number of instances where she was called Snake Eyes, and for the most part is either been Dawn Moreno or just Dawn. Yeah. So it does feel like her code name is really just Dawn. And after all, Cobra do know who she is, so it's not like she needs to disguise her name.
This toy box, is there art?
They have largely abandoned that original art in the latest set of releases. So I think we probably won't see any newly commissioned art, unfortunately. It's a bit of a shame.
Right.
So having a look in the comments, a couple of call outs. Matt just notes another Hama project, Mounties versus Werewolves, which was a Kickstarter. Can't wait for that. And yeah, Dr. Venom, come on, let's get a good Dr. Venom toy. Quinn, Scarface, maybe even someone later on like Pale Peony from the Storm Shadow series or IDW. And Jojo Daddy pointing out, smash that like button and subscribe. Thanks so much. Now, continuing on with news. It's been a busy news week. We have got the latest Hama Files solicitation, which is for Destro, first appearance in issue number 14. So we have a great new Chris Mooneyham cover featuring Destro there with some sort of that old style text on the cover as well, which is a delight. So this one will be coming out. Where are we? I thought I'd written it down. Maybe I didn't. 29th of April, 2026.
Based on Mooneyham's original art for his variant cover for the new issue 325, I think this is hand lettered on the original art. This Destro text, his name is Destro. He's a Titan. ... This cover. Should we talk about it for a second? It's
yeah.
It is distressed and it has creases as if it was a folded poster, and it's got a limited color palette. The 5 characters who aren't Destro are sort of knocked back in like orange, pale orange, and all the backgrounds are red. So even though there's sort of a lot going on, it's quite uniform. And the copy, the text, his name is Destro ... He's coming for you, G.I. Joe. It feels like this could have been an ad in the 80s, either in a magazine, or this might have been what narrator Jackson Beck said in the TV commercial. When he's coming for you, G.I. Joe. So to have a cover that's what I like about these new Mooneyham covers for the Hama Files editions is that they are completely different takes on the issue, right? It's not like he's drawing the same cover from a slightly different angle, or he's just redrawing the cover, which, when Hasbro was doing those 3-packs and 2-packs 15, 20 years ago, Hasbro was doing, and that was a lot of fun. But now we can, it's like you sort of wave a magic wand, and in an alternate universe, what would a different artist come up with for a cover? While we're looking at this, the Skybound version of the original cover of Marvel's issue 14, Mark, did I notice, was there someone in the Talking Joe Facebook group, or was it a different Facebook group, and I'm not crediting someone, who noted that Flash is colored wrong on this cover? He's colored blue like a Cobra, yeah. But True. He should be green because he's on the back of the APC. And I would love it if Skybound would fix this. Maybe I can remember by the end of this episode and send in an email.
Well, Diana is in the chat. Maybe it might be something that
hey, Diana Davis,
interested
creative consultant for Skybound on G.I. Joe. Congrats on another full year working on the G.I. Joe comic. There's a little coloring error which dates back to 1983. It's not Skybound's fault, but maybe Skybound could fix it.
Yeah, it's this guy. Yeah, this guy here that guy on the top of the APC. That's meant to be Flash.
He should be green with not orange knee pads, thigh pads. Okay. What other news?
Yes, well, we were talking about new comic reveals. In the last week, it was revealed the next three issues of the Energon Universe series will be related to Crystal Ball and Diatech, with Andrea Milana on the art for that. And there's going to be leaning a bit more into the horror genre, as they did with Cobra Commander for that series. We tend to focus on a real American hero in our American hero issue when we're covering an ARAH issue. So we might touch on that a bit more in the next Energon universe episode. Another cover reveal was. Can I play the jingle here? Maybe I'll play the jingle here.
Beginning, yeah.
Why are there so many covers of Baroness?
So we have a Suspiria Vilches cover. This is from Night of Comics. It is a MegaCon exclusive, although I think they might also be selling it online. Limited to 750 copies. This is, I think this is the first retailer variant that we've seen for issue number 2 of the Hama files, because we've seen a lot of issue number 1s in the previous month. We've now got an issue number 2, and this is a sort of painterly cover of Baroness, but not necessarily the best cover for this particular issue, given that the Baroness 1 doesn't have this costume in this particular era of G.I. Joe. 2 doesn't appear in the issue, and 3, I think we've had enough. Thanks. Can we just stop having Baroness covers now? So Diana's now put in a response to the request. So I think the best thing is to keep the covers the same as the original for reprints, because they're reprints. I'm not actually aware that it was an active choice, but it's a good guess it was. And back in with the hardcover editions from IDW, they did make a few active choices to change a few bits here and there. And I believe this was something that back in the day then they didn't actually change. Again, was it a choice or was it just something they overlooked? But who knows?
Back in 2002, I was doing some consulting for, Diana says, I stand like that all the time, multiple times. Oh, now Diana Davis is talking about this Baroness pose.
As Baroness, yeah.
I stand like that all the time, multiple times a day, just because. When
holding the barrel of the gun, just like that.
Yeah, sort of like a
gripping it. Yeah.
In terms of fixing,
I was thinking of Pool Kill too. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In terms of fixing original mistakes or not, in like 2002, I was doing some consulting for Rhino Home Video for the G.I. Joe and Transformers DVD box sets, and the season 2 episode of Transformers, a Decepticon raider in King Arthur's court, where Powerglide time travels. The original episode was broadcast with a typo in the title, a Decepticon. Decepticon was spelled wrong. And I was so tickled by that, I pointed it out and then said, when you're recreating the titles from the remastered footage, please keep the typo. And Rhino did not. And I was a little disappointed. But it's also, it's an opportunity. So my vote actually here is that the cover to Destro's first appearance in G.I. Joe 14 does get fixed. And maybe the comparison is that Skybound is not going to reprint the original Marvel G.I. Joe #1 at all or anymore. Skybound is only printing the Hama cut, the Hama Files edition. So I think anyway. New comic.
Yeah, we'll do just a second. We've got G.I. Joe 66 Delta 17 3D Joe's ORC. I was like, maybe that's just G.I. Joe 66. So he says, full force corrected me when I said Diana and not Dana. Lol. Diana sounds way better than Dana. That doesn't sound Russian for the October Guard. Yeah, Dana is an October Guard, and Diana is a consultant for the comics. So oh yes, Dana. It's spelled even funnier. D-A-I-N-A. So it's all the same letters. So another little bit of news that I thought was interesting was that Image revealed their top-selling comics for January 2026. And I don't know that this is something they always do, because it's not something I've ever noticed, but I saw it in the news this past month. And G.I. Joe is 3 out of Image Comics' top 10 for the month.
Energon Universe G.I. Joe.
Well, 3 total, including Energon Universe. So number 1 was Gunslinger Spawn, issue number 50, which I think had a bump because of the anniversary issue. 2 was Transformers 28. Then 3, Exquisite Corpses. 4 and 5 were G.I. Joe 17 and 18. Then we've got Skinbreaker, Void Rivals, Geiger, G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero 324 was in at position number 9, and Bug Wars was 10. So 3 of the top 10 G.I. Joe, and 5 of the top 10 if you include the rest of the Energon universe. So it goes to show how well Energon and G.I. Joe is doing for Image.
2 comments. One, that shows you how much Skybound is doing at Image. And also, sometimes I look at a publisher like Boom, which has, the Power Rangers license and the Dark Crystal license, or a publisher like Dynamite, which has a whole bunch of licenses like Flash Gordon and Red Sonja, and now the Disney Afternoon and Gargoyles. And sometimes I wonder, what is the advantage? Like American Mythology, very small publisher, and I don't know how they're doing after the Diamond bankruptcy, but 3 years ago, they had the Three Stooges and Pink Panther licenses. And I thought, how many people out there are going into a comic book store and asking for those? Because those seem so niche. And it goes to show you that if you can get a license for not too much money, or if maybe something like, Ninja Turtles, Transformers, G.I. Joe is not a little bit of money, but maybe a medium or a lot of money, it can be worth it because it just has immediate recognition in an audience. And if you are one of these publishers and you're you're doing something brand new, you have to tell
brand new.
You have to educate people for days and weeks and months on what it is, why they should care, and maybe that it even exists. Whereas we all just, if someone says like, oh, they're Jetsons comics, right? There aren't any Jetson comics in 2026, but you'd say, yeah, right. But all this brand new stuff, creator owned stuff, there's this steep curve. So the other sort of, it's not just like, oh, G.I. Joe's doing well or the Energon universe is doing well. It's that licensed books at Image are doing well. And for a very long time, Image did not want to do licensed books.
Yeah, it's a bit of a renaissance of licensed books. If you kind of look across the market, that you've got a lot of licensed books these days doing generally pretty well. So let's segue across into the latest issue of G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero 325. From this point onwards, we will be spoilery. So if you have not, and particularly once we're on the other side of the gallery, so if you've not read the issue and you are wanting to stay spoiler free, then perhaps this is the time to pause and come back after you have read it.
To pause, go to your comic book store, buy the Center Holds #1, and then come back and read G.I. Joe 325, which I guess you already got.
Okay, let's transition to 325 time with a jingle.
Drones and snipers. Drones and snipers. Drones and snipers. Drones and snipers.
So this issue came to us from the team of writer Larry Hama, returning artist Chris Mooneyham, colorist Francesco Segala with flatter Sabrina del Grosso. Letterer continues to be Pat Brousseau. Editor is Alex Antone, rhymes with phone. Assistant editor, Caitlin Chappell. Publication design, Jillian Crab. Production design, Richard Mercardo. And creative consultant is Diana Davis. So after this point, we generally have a look at the things that they stick a bunch of art on the front of these books, and they call those covers.
Let's have a look at the covers in the gallery.
So this image that Mark has on screen right now is not just a promo or an inside page after the comic. It's the back cover of this image. And I'm so pleased that, at least for this month, and I hope permanently, Skybound is treating A Real American Hero the way that it does G.I. Joe over in the Energon universe, where the back cover shows you all the covers that you can get at comic book stores. And it says, collect all these covers, because there are a lot of covers in comics to keep track of, and I find the back cover guides handy. Okay. Cover A is drawn by Andy Kuberts and colored by Laura Martin. And just for a moment, I want to say congratulations, thank you, and farewell to Andy Kubert, who is wrapping up his 2-year cover run on G.I. Joe. 25 covers for the regular series, plus there's one for Silent Missions. There was the artwork for the boxes and the hardcover Kickstarter compendium boxes, and then the softcover compendia. So that's another like 12 images. He did a cover for a reprint of issue 21 and a couple things that I'm certainly forgetting. It was such a coup that Skybound, and Andy Kubert is not cheap, right? This guy's drawn X-Men and Batman. He's done regular Batman and fancy Dark Knight Returns continuity Batman. And then, don't forget, folks, he drew a Batman miniseries, Batman Detective, where he goes to London. And didn't he write the Damian miniseries?
Oh yeah, I think he might have done. Mm-hmm.
He wrote and drew Damian, Son of Batman. Okay. Andy Kubert, it is such a wonderful, like, emotional link that not just any artist who drew a bunch of covers in the late 80s and early 90s for Marvel G.I. Joe, but a really good one, and who has a family tradition of war or combat comics. Kubert had done a little Sergeant Rock. His father had done a ton of Sergeant Rock and is the definitive Sergeant Rock artist. And all these years later, Andy Kubert's covers on Skybound G.I. Joe has not missed a step. You know, there are some artists who 30 years later, their stuff is still good, but it's a little bit less. And his is as good, if not better. So like a link to the past, but also just a lot of oomph. And oh boy, did when this series come back, did it want some oomph. So just as a general thematic, like, thumbs up, and I'm sad that he's leaving, but also it was uninterrupted, right? It wasn't like he did 3 and then like skipped 2 and then did 1 and then came back for 6. He just kept doing them. So thank you, Andy Kubert. Thank you, Skybound. Good job, good taste. Okay, Cover A is it's funny and unusual, this cover. So we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Joes, and they are all standing on, it's a little hard to see, but it is a shot up, destroyed HISS tank. And it's got bullet holes all over the armor on the side. The glass cockpit has been shattered. The 2 giant turrets are sort of mangled. The proportions of this HISS tank are, I'm just going to say it, Andy Kubert is an amazing, amazing artist, and I love his covers. The proportions on this HISS tank are a little small and a little toyetic. And I'm just going to say, Mark, that this is the HISS tank that, shoot, who's the, that John Royal drew. Remember we pointed out there was that he drew a HISS tank in one of his IDW covers, like was Zorana standing in front of it. And you and I were like, oh, this looks like it was drawn from the toy because it's kind of stubby. I think this is that his tank, that very specific his tank that wandered over from the Jean Royal Zorana variant cover from like 280 or whatever it was. Okay.
Yeah, if you think it's the super small his tank, I think I might have one. I think.
Are you about to? Okay, I'll keep talking since we're live. Okay, and Mark's back.
There it is.
Mark is holding a. Is that one of the Jada Nano metal?
No, this was I don't know, like 20 years ago. They released it as a one-off, and it had lights and sound in the
neat.
in the turrets, and
okay.
Yeah, you really, you try and fit Snake Eyes in that one, you can't even get a foot in it.
Okay, so this cover,
but
the comparison.
Hot Wheels are releasing a very similar one without the lights and sound,
right?
Very soon as well.
The comparison that I want to make here is from Andy Kubert on 325 to Herb Trimpe on issue 1, because everything about this, like 7 out of 8 things, is the opposite. So each one features a bunch of Joes on a tank, but in issue 1, the tank is coming at us and the Joes are running or standing on the moving tank. And here, the tank is all shot up and the Joes are seated. This is after the battle, not during the battle. The American flag that Duke is holding here seems to have come in from page 1 of the original 1982 issue 1 of G.I. Joe. And whereas, of course, the 1982 issue 1 of G.I. Joe had only 1982 characters in their 1982 costumes, this is a variety of Joes. We have, Scarlet in her 82 costume, but then we've got Tunnel Rat from 87 and Rock and Roll version 2 from, I forget what year that was, 89. And whereas the bold red background sky color of the issue 1 cover really, really shouts, and I love it. This is a sort of blue fading down to like yellow. It's actual like daytime, not like comic book background color. And then there's almost, I don't know if you'd call it a joke, but Kubert's having a little fun here because in the front, Rock and Roll, and I love it when Kubert draws Rock and Roll version 2, put a pin in that. He is hunched over a little mountain of bullet shells, bullet casings. And here, every Joe is specifically brandishing a weapon, right? So Lady J has a machine gun, and Tunnel Rat is reloading a pistol, and Roadblock has his weapon. And in fact, Duke seems to have something very similar to it. I don't know if it's a 60 caliber or the actual Browning.
Yeah, it looks like it, doesn't it?
In both cases, can you go to the marquee image you have for this episode where you've zoomed in on part of this cover?
I was going to say, I don't think no, you said Rock and Roll was in his version 2. Yeah. Roadblock isn't in his version 2. The red on his that you can see on Roadblock is I think tracer rounds.
Yes, and in fact, that's what I was going to say. So Hama has mentioned in an interview or two that one of the things that he likes about the best artists who work on G.I. Joe is how they pay attention to either military accuracy or the reference photos he provides them to get military accuracy. And the every, 5th or 6th round in these 2 really heavy machine guns being not just a regular bullet, but a tracer round, one that you can see because it glows so you know where you're shooting, right? That's something that, I think Hama imparted to one of the editors, and they definitely imparted to Laura Martin. Okay, super fun cover. Hey, an appearance by Hawk, who we continue to not see in the book, but at least it's not Sexy Baroness standing there and then also Sexy Baroness standing there in her Energon Universe costume and then also Chameleon or something.
Yeah, we've not seen Hawk for a very long time. There's a fun sort of dog tag thing in the bottom left, which says milestone 25th issue in loud big print, but yes, in smaller lettering 325th. And there's an echo to the 301, which sort of was a kind of semi-homage to the original number 1 with the Joes on a tank coming towards us, some of them jumping off and firing. And that had that similar sort of dog tag with 301st issue. So yeah, fun to see sort of like a mirroring of the first and last issue. And speaking of going back to previous work of Andy Kubert, look at rock and roll here on the issue of 97 from G.I. Joe Real American Hero issue 97 from Marvel Comics, which featured rock and roll version 2 with those, you know, great big kind of mini Gatling gun handheld things that he's got with, look at his knees and his trousers, ripped up trousers, exposed knees, and look back to the most recent cover. And what do we see? It's rock and roll with those same exposed knees.
And Mark, there's another Andy Kubert rock and roll version 2 cover, and that's 114, which I think I sent. Yeah, I sent you the issue, the cover just before. It's not colored correctly, but your objection, Your Honor, sustained. I'll allow it. It's just always exciting.
Overruled.
Overruled. It's always exciting to see Andy Kubert draw not just, you know, favorite G.I. Joe characters like Snake Eyes, but the guys who don't get the cover as often, like Rock and Roll version 2. And I actually think Rock and Roll version 2 is a better design than Rock and Roll version 1. And I know that a lot of people always default to version 1s for G.I. Joe characters, but I'm going to say it, Rock and Roll version 2, it's better design. Okay. Cover B.
Oh, wrong one. Where are we? That one.
Cover B is that same drawing, inks only, black and white, no colors. Awesome. Cover C is a Steve Beach painting of Destro version 2 in his despoiler. The bottom half of the cover, there's no physical background, but the bottom half of the cover is purple. And then there's a gradient up to black. And then there's a really nice trick where the reflection on the top of the despoiler, the light that it's reflecting, besides a white highlight coming from the top left, on the top right is purple. So there's a little bit of a balance. Destro looks great here. I'm seeing the Beach's treatment of Destro's metallic head and those green eyes in the black reminds me a little bit of when Dave Dorman has painted Destro version 2. It's always exciting to see Destro flying because then his cape can billow, and it's always exciting to see this version 2 because even though you don't get his 70s spy open chest and like red jewel thing, you do get again that cape and this very exciting sword. When I look at how Beach painted the despoiler here, particularly the sort of gun rack that pivots on that round ring on the bottom, I very much see that Beach was looking at the toy. This is not like, 5% bigger in scale or like slightly meched up like an actual fantasy vehicle that could exist. This is like a toy, a giant toy that a fantasy man is flying. And actually the Marshall Rogers cover, is it 77? I forget, with the purple background actually.
87.
87, thank you. It reminds me of that, where Marshall Rogers just definitely drew the toy. This is a 1 in 10. This is the Gears of Joe variant, cover D.
I was just trying to get the
Marshall Rogers one.
That Marshall Rogers cover, and it's not quite playing ball for me, which is being very annoying. But I'll try again.
Well, it's if you squint, folks, it's very similar to this, except the color is flat and he's slightly more diagonal. May we go to cover D?
Yep. Yes, let's do it. It's not playing ball. Yep.
Cover D. This is the fun. It wasn't a surprise.
Let me do it. There we go. That one.
Yeah. Here's the cover here's Marshall Rogers cover to G.I. Joe 87 from Marvel. Which, if you were to describe it, it's actually just the same. If you describe it in a sentence, it's the same cover as the Steve Beach, but in many ways it's quite different. And let me credit Bob McLeod, who inked this. It's not just Marshall Rogers. Okay, thank you for finding that. This was a fun surprise when it was announced because we'd been hoping that Rod Wiggum could somehow be involved a little bit more in Skybound's G.I. Joe after doing those trading cards for the Kickstarter. This one, and here's a little bit of old and new. Rod Wiggum, who drew 30 plus issues of G.I. Joe at Marvel in the 80s, pencils and inks this wraparound cover for $325, but it's colored by Mike Spicer, who's very much a colorist known in the Skybound world for Transformers in the Energon universe and other stuff. So this is on the front cover. You've got a hand, and sort of running out of it are Destro and the Baroness and Serpentor Khan, who's dead. And in the background, all of this orange flame. The background, there are no buildings or forests or sky or ground. It's just flame, flame, flame all the way up. And then you realize on the back cover, there's a giant Cobra Commander, masked Cobra Commander, and he's got both of his hands out. And in his other hand are 5 Cobras, also sort of lunging and attacking. There is a Night Creeper. There is Firefly. There is a, is this a Valkyrie? I feel like I see a bustier.
Yeah, it looks like a female Cobra Viper officer of some description. So possibly a Valkyrie could have been the influence there.
And then a Crimson Guard Immortal. And then I'm going to come back to that other guy in a second. And then the background are a couple Trouble Bubbles, Cobra Flight Pods. And I think I'm seeing in the one who's closest to the image logo, is that a Range Viper? Can't quite tell. Anyway, I like it. And I know I've asked about this guy because I keep sort of not being used to this costume. Mark, tell us who that guy is all the way on the left by Wiggum's signature.
That is Overkill, who has appeared in the IDW era towards the end of the run, in the that Sherlock murder by assassination arc. And subsequently appeared a couple of issues back in one of the Paul Pelletier issues, where he looked slightly different on the cover to how he looked on the interior. But yeah, that's this character. It's a kind of new design of that kind of cyborg bat leader Overkill guy.
This is a new design, which remind me, I know we talked about this 2 months ago.
It was
does not have a toy.
Yeah, it was Andrew Lee Griffiths who did the design for this one and does not have a toy in this particular look.
Okay, because he's blue, and the character had there was a version which had a blue costume, but he had a very different head, and then the one we know from 1992 is green and red and gold and transparent. Okay, that's cover D. That one was open to order. Cover E also open to order, not a rare variant. Drawn by Chris Mooneyham. I'm guessing colored by Segala. Maybe not. Sorry. Drawn by Mooneyham, at least. Has 2 Joes we know, Duke and Roadblock, in their regular costumes. And by the way, folks, they are not in their regular costumes inside the issue. And then in closer to us, 2 new Joes, Downrange, a sniper. She has a sniper rifle, and R.C., who has a machine gun, and then a control thing in his hand, and then a drone. The background for this cover is all white. There's just a little bit of a vignette of dirt underneath these 4 characters, and then there's sort of a banner across the bottom that says, "Introducing the newest members of G.I. Joe, Downrange and R.C." And Mooneyham has done all this lettering by hand. It's on the original art that went for sale a week ago, both in the word balloon, "Welcome to the Team Joes," and then also down on the bottom in the burst. And then and Mooneyham has figured out a font like a targety font for Deadeye, and sort of a tech font for RC with periods. And
that's on the original art there. It says Deadeye. On the published art, it says Downrange.
Oh, very good.
There's a thing.
Very good. Well, I guess Deadeye didn't clear legal. I'm trying to think. Is there a Marvel or DC character? There's a Deadshot. Anyway, and then I'll just bring up my joke one more time that I can't wait to, just as Mark and I get Road Pig and Roadblock mixed up in our Energon Universe episodes, I can't wait for the times that I get downrange and long range mixed up in our Real American Hero episodes. This is a fun cover for two reasons. One, it's always great when the artist drawing the issue gets to do a cover. Diana says it didn't even get to legal, which means someone before it was sent to a lawyer to do a check, is this copyrighted somewhere? Someone said, we're not using that name, or we can't use that name. Do
you know, does this reference mean anything to you, Tim? Fumble's alternate name was that he suggested was Deadeye, and Killshot, I think they might have suggested Trouser Snake for him. This Fumbles is the character from Robot Chicken, which, if you've never seen, and yeah, like G.I. Joe, having a slight Mickey taken out of it is well worth your time.
Thank you for that barking, Fringe. I always like it when the artist who's drawing the interiors gets to draw covers. Sometimes the cover artist is more famous or better, and that, it's better for sales. But Mooneyham sure has very quickly elevated, he could just be, if Lee Weeks isn't available, Mooneyham should just take over as the actual cover artist. And if that means he's drawing fewer issues, then I think I'm okay with that, because they're just really elevated, Mooneyham's covers. And then the other reason why this cover is fun is that these two new characters don't show up on the other covers. And to the extent that over in speculator and collector land, in the last 10 years, there's been this phenomenon where Marvel and DC have started to, in their catalogs, call out when in an issue of Batman, there's the first appearance of a new character, a new villain, because they know that people who are looking for variant covers or first appearances are going to go to comic book stores on Wednesdays and buy that comic. But, if this was an 80s issue of G.I. Joe, these two characters would have toys, and they absolutely would be on the cover. But, either, Kubert's drawing his cover way ahead of time, or they just decided that we weren't going to put the two new characters on his cover. And then, they're not going to make it to the Steve Beach Gears of Joe cover, because who are these two and what vehicle did they drive? For the sort of the cosmic balance, no, it's the first appearance of two new Joes. And I don't think Hasbro was working on a toy of either of these two. But if the past is prologue for Dawn, in 10 years, we'll get a 2-pack of Downrange and R.C. And then maybe Super 7 will do a 2-pack with a reprint of this comic. I don't know.
And actually, when the information was initially revealed about this issue, this is what they showed for this particular cover. It was redacted with a black spoiler overlay over the top of it. I guess because they wanted to make a little bit of a bigger noise about the release of these new two characters in this issue later down the line. unless it was that the cover hadn't been drawn at that point and they were just being cute, which is a possibility. But
there was one more open to order, not rare cover available for this issue, and this was, I don't know who at Skybound figured this out, but very smart. It's not just a sketch cover with the logo and the rest of it's blank. It is what's the full title? It is a blank sketch file card variant. And so there's a rectangle in the middle where one could draw something, and then a little bit of that manila envelope shape around it, where on the top you can write a code name, and then there's a little bit of printing, where you can write in someone's file name and their specialty and their birthplace, and you can write something about, there's 3 lines where you can write about them, and then 3 lines where you can write a motto, and then there's a square on the bottom right where you can, draw the Cobra logo if they're a bad guy, or draw the G.I. Joe star if they're a good guy. And this is really, really smart, because people going to conventions might love sketch covers, and I think artists have embraced them, because you don't have to pull out your own piece of paper. And the publishers have figured out to print this on a certain kind of stock that can, handle ink. But G.I. Joe is synonymous with file cards, with dossiers. And so if you put these two together and you bring this issue to a convention or a signing, and you ask the artist to draw a certain character, or I don't know, maybe you like as a GI Joe, like bring your Steel Brigade file card from the 80s. This is really smart, and I did not order enough for my store, considering that we've got Larry Hama signing a couple days after. In my defense, we did order this issue before we'd quite nailed down Larry. Diana says, I've already seen one of these with a Cook sketch for sale on eBay. Who's Cook?
So, so either it's a drawing of Roadblock, or she means cool.
Yes. Oh, right. Okay. Right. Sorry. Yes. It's probably a radical sketch. Cool sketch. Thank you, Diana. Mark, are there any retailer exclusive?
I was just going to quickly note that the inside front cover of that has got a cover credit to Jillian Crab, and I was thinking, Jillian Crab, that name sounds familiar. I've not seen a cover credited to her, so I think this is the cover. She is the publication designer. So this is a bit of publication design. Hence, she has got a cover that she has done, which is somewhat fantastic. So we've got a few retailer variants this month. We have got what they're calling an action figure card art homage variant from John Jiang. So he's got two covers, a Snake Eyes cover and a Storm Shadow cover. These were released on Eastside Comics and are being taken to MegaCon as a con exclusive. And they're sort of, images of Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, somewhat homaging the version 2 Snake Eyes, version 1 Storm Shadow, Gerardo posters. Yes.
Yeah, the Hector Garrido painted poses from the old action figure toys.
Go 1, 2, buckle my shoe. Next up from 616 Comics is Dawn, which is by I think I've written it down wrong. I think this is a Chris Ng. So a one image of Dawn without her mask and a kind of explosion happening behind her, and one image with her mask. And a red background behind her, which is the foil version of that cover. And I think what we were seeing, so here's close images of the two, maskless with explosion, or a giant fart that is upsetting some sand behind her, and the helmeted red cover version. And I think here again we are seeing the curse of the Bushido statue being used as reference. So hopefully with the release of the Dawn classified figure, this reference will go much further down the search engine rankings. So whenever artists are looking for Dawn reference, they won't be seeing this one quite as high up their search engine results. And then I think this is...
Mark, have we ever played your jingle twice in one episode? For it's not a Baroness cover, it's a Dawn cover. Okay, sorry. It's crossing my wires because it's sort of the same altitude.
Yeah. And then finally we have got Bjorn Barron's Storm Shadow. This is one of a number that he has done, and this one is from Underdog Comics. Underdogcomicshop.com is the place to find him.
I think we've basically said this already, but Storm Shadow, Snake Eyes, Dawn Marino do not appear in this issue. So putting them on covers certainly will sell because they're the most exciting. But at this point, like, just put Batman on the cover. You know, it's like, they're like awesome comics. G.I. Joe 325 store, only 500 copies made. Batman's on the cover. It's like, well, he's not in the issue. Like, who cares? Like Raphael and the Shredder are on the cover. Like, because they're ninjas. Like, yeah, cool. Okay.
let's get on to the interiors of this particular issue with a plot breakdown. Dark Clonia have invaded Borovia, and a Joe team of Duke, Roadblock, new sniper Downrange, new drone operator R.C. are embedded with a Borovian unit to observe the impact of new drone and sniper technologies being used in the conflict. An initial wave of incoming enemy drones are shot out of the sky by Duke and R.C. The team then splits, Duke with Downrange to a sniper hide beneath a wrecked tank, and Roadblock with R.C. in the trenches to set up their drones. It's a duel to the death between Downrange and the enemy sniper, and the drones and incoming tanks. It's a tough battle, but the Joes win the day.
You know, I don't know that I've said this, but Mark, I really enjoy your plot breakdowns because sometimes you have to crunch a lot down into, you know, a paragraph, and you're not just taking the solicit. Anyway. Good job. I wanted to. This is where we often start with sort of a top-down overall response to this issue, and I spent a lot of time congratulating Andy Kubert on a cool 2-year cover run. I would like to congratulate G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, for reaching issue 325, because most comics don't. Some comics don't make it that long, and then a lot of long-running comics technically do, but they start over at issue number 1, and then they go for 2 years, and then they switch over to their legacy numbering because they're about to hit like 400 or 500 or 1,000, and then a year or two later they like start over at number 1 and continue. And there's just a lot of excitement in this being actual issue 325 and not like issue 73 because it restarted 3 times. Marvel was certainly never going to restart it. That wasn't done at the time. And IDW could have, and maybe in issue number 1, you know, continuing the old continuity back in 2010 would have sold better or been more exciting, but there was just sort of a power and a feeling in picking up at 156. So I just want to say how cool it is that my favorite comic is still chugging along and has a big number on the top left. But also, I was ready to be disappointed in Skybound for not making an oversized issue, but Skybound did pull out some stops for this anniversary with covers. There are a lot more covers for this issue than the previous ones. So Skybound did notice. They got Mooneyham back, and that may have just been sort of the like general timing of, you know, him and Pelletier and Kroenke. But I do feel like there's still this idea that Mooneyham, you know, they're trying to get him back and saving him for like special issues like 321. In terms of Skybound not adding pages, making it oversized or double-sized, Skybound does not do that for issue 25s, as far as I can remember, you know, Walking Dead or Invincible. And let's take a quick trip back in time. When Marvel G.I. Joe made it to issue 25, this wasn't a special thing because the brand was still new. It was really hitting big, right? Toys, comics, cartoon. This issue does introduce a character, and that's exciting, but it's just the next issue and it's regular sized. And then issue 125, same thing, right? Something cool happens in this issue, but that's Larry Hama writing a certain kind of story. That's not Marvel asking us to spend an extra 50 cents for more pages. That this issue is exciting to me because I'm pointing over my shoulder. I own the cover. So here,
all right, yeah, we can see it there. Just bring
and behind me, this Eco Warriors Flint, and it's like
one is small, one is far away.
Yes. Okay, and then let's jump ahead many years. IDW gets its own 25th anniversary with 225, and this issue does not have extra pages, and it's not more expensive. It is the final part of a big story, which had gotten some promotion. And it does have a wraparound cover, so there's a little nod to this being special. So I can temper my disappointment that Skybound isn't doing anything special for this anniversary. And also, I should remind myself that in April, Skybound is giving me 5 additional issues of Real American Hero. And I'm going to be so busy podcasting that month because Mark's going to try and do an episode for every issue, and maybe we'll get some interviews. And it'll be, I'll never say too much G.I. Joe, more G.I. Joe than I can handle, but maybe I can say as much G.I. Joe as I can handle. Okay, so hooray for 325, and also congrats to Larry Hama for still writing this book that we like so much.
Absolutely.
So that's my top down. What's your top down, Mark?
I think this is a great issue, and you sometimes talk about how could you just take any random issue of G.I. Joe and put it in someone's hands and say, here, read this. And I think this is one of those issues where you can do that to quite a great degree without needing to know too much. It's relatively self-contained, one and done. I get the sense that this might just be a one shot, that this isn't a continuing story, that we're not going to be back necessarily in Borovia for huge swathes of time. So yeah, it does feel a little bit more of a one and done story, very much a grounded war story, harkening back to more of the Joe Kubert type war stories, and echoed by Mooneyham's gritty Joe Kubert-esque visuals. The baddies are also sort of like, they're not, fantastical cobras in crazy costumes. It's very grounded in reality, and that's a nice change of pace after a lot of the sort of the fantastical Joe's in space, versus cyborgs with not lightsabers or clones or all of these other things. This is sort of very much in a sort of contemporary, modern day, gritty warfare kind of environment, and it's sort of a lot of Hamaisms here in terms of the explaining of weaponry, and specifics of technical details of combat. So it feels very much like a kind of a leaning into some of what Larry does so well. It also feels like we're dipping back into kind of contemporary references, just like that Middle Eastern conflict from A Real American Hero back in the day. This feels like we're sort of tipping G.I. Joe toes into kind of contemporary Eastern European conflicts, which is kind of interesting to see kind of how Larry is kind of dealing with that kind of dynamic, and essentially, finally and interestingly, a response to the Ukrainian conflict, I think. And there's something for me that I've been dying to see for hundreds of issues, possibly at this stage, which is that we get a first page with a title of the story, Drone War. So we're getting a front page splash, a title for the story, and that title appears in a big special text on the front page. And we've not seen that for the longest time. Back in IDW era in 263, I think there was an issue called Some Gave All, but that was just in the front, inside front cover. It wasn't actually in that text on the front page. I think we have to go all the way back probably to the Marvel era to see that. And that kind of treatment is really what makes classic G.I. Joe for me. It's a little thing, but it's an important thing for me. So I was delighted to see that particular aspect on page 1.
I wonder if Drone War here on page 1 is Mooneyham or Pat Brousseau.
It could be a bit of both, even. It could be a placeholder that was tightened up.
I want to be a little more specific. I appreciate your reference to this nodding to current events. So yes, in the early 90s, when Iraq invaded Kuwait, there's this G.I. Joe story where a big country in the Middle East, kind of like Iraq, invades a small one, kind of like Kuwait, with Cobra's help. And And that story went on for 5 issues. And here on the first page, Darklonia has 437 days earlier invaded Borovia. And this is the first we're hearing of it in the Real American Hero continuity. So I thought, okay, here's an analog for Russia invading Ukraine. And then I thought, okay, well, in Hama's universe, I thought Borovia was always kind of Germany, but I will admit I never have like sat down and written out every fictional country and tried to figure out specifically which country it's an analog for. Because there was a little bit of this like East and West Germany to Borovia back in the 60s, issue 60s.
Yeah, because you had all of the elements of the Joes being captured and taken to this Borovian gulag, and Outback is having that escape and then returning while there was kind of a revolution to kind of overthrow the power, and maybe then that revolution not being entirely successful. So it's got a storied history in Borovia, and it's somewhat it's one of the analogous anyway, however you spell it. The sort of references to an Eastern European country that's kind of trying to escape a bit of
the Soviet sphere of influence.
Exactly.
So and then similarly, I don't know quite what Darklonia lines up with, and it's only had a few references in the comics, and it may be sort of as nebulous to Larry Hama as it is to me, like when he needs to mention it, when he just needs an Eastern European country in his G.I. Joe, and maybe there's going to be a Destro or Darklon reference. Well, Darklonia, and if not, he could just make up a new one, and then maybe 10 issues later it does something with it, or maybe never does. But so here we've got Darklonia having invaded Borovia, which is not quite the same in terms of geography and scale as Russia invading Ukraine, but it reminds us of it. And also, here's a difference. Later in the story, there are characters mentioning Russia. And so in this story, it is not a perfect analog because, in the real world, Russia hasn't anyway. But I appreciated that Hama is using this as a place and as you said, nodding to real world events. And I think you used a phrase like mostly self-contained issue. And I would say this issue is fully self-contained because
I only say mostly because I can't necessarily project forward to know what's going to happen in the future.
These 20 pages so far, right? There isn't one panel where we jump over to Cobra Island, and there isn't one panel where like Snake Eyes is jumping out of a plane with a parachute. Funny
there's an A plot, and that's it. There's no B, there's no C. Being carried across from past issues.
Quick aside, funny you should mention, could one give this issue to someone who's never read G.I. Joe before? Someone was at my store on Wednesday, and I was talking about the upcoming Larry Hama signing. And I said, oh, he's best known as a writer. He's also been an editor and an artist, G.I. Joe, Batman, Wolverine. And I pointed to issue 325, and I said, do you know about G.I. Joe? Because I sort of assume everyone knows the cartoon and the toys a little bit from the 80s. And Tim, that's wrong. And he said, no, I don't know G.I. Joe. And I said, oh, well, there's some like really good self-contained issues. And the Hama Files edition of issue 2 was not out yet. And I love giving issue 2 to people because it's just a good comic. And I was sort of looking around. It's like, well, I'm not going to give them the Hama Files 49, and Hama Files 21 it's almost too much. But I did talk about it, and I looked over and I thought, oh, well, 325, this brand new one is self-contained, but I'm not going to give it to him because it's a brand new comic. But he just bought a $50 book, and I wasn't going to ask him to buy a $4 issue, which I haven't really thought about, and it may not be the best first issue of G.I. Joe. And I thought, what's quick and easy? What do I have a spare copy of? And I remembered, is it 314, the Andrew Cronky issue, where Tunnel Rat is jumping out of the tomahawk on the cover. And we had a spare copy right there. And I thought, here, take this. So I did give a self-contained issue of G.I. Joe to a G.I. Joe novice this week. Okay, back to 325.
And it's a good comparison though, because I think that's the closest that we've seen to this type of issue in a while. That it's a one and done. It's much more grounded. It's the Joe's on a mission kind of in
someone's
one of these.
been kidnapped.
So yeah, it's a good kind of companion piece to this particular issue. And talking about the Darklonian invasion, Darklonian is this other kind of Eastern European fictional nation, in that triangle of Wolf Kluckenland, Darklonia, and here, Borovia.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess it's overruled, run by Darklon, the cousin of Destro, but it's very grounded here. We're not seeing anyone in fancy, Iron Grenadier uniforms, so we don't see Darklon and his, amazing looking mask or any of that kind of thing. It's very grounded in sort of modern military kind of kit.
And now I'll say something that derails that thoughtful statement. Is Darklonia Latveria and Darklon is Doctor Doom?
Kind of, isn't it? Yeah.
Kind of isn't. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So we're into the first page, and I just want to point out that when I saw this vehicle on page 1, I thought, oh, is that the Monster Blaster APC? No. And then I thought, is that a G.I. Joe vehicle from like 2005 that I don't know? Probably not. And I thought, oh, is that a real world? This is how twisted G.I. Joe is into my brain. I thought, oh, is that a real world vehicle? It probably is. Oh man, because it's a BTR. So folks, I was disappointed that Hama and Mooneyham, being thoughtful or careful or both in putting something, sort of, what's the word for verisimilitude? And what I really wanted was because wasn't the Monster Blaster APC, wasn't that a Mega Marines vehicle? And that, they could just refer to it as like, oh, this refurbished Monster Blaster APC that we took the Play-Doh canister out of. You want to read that note of yours?
Okay. I said BTR, Russian Bronne transporter, meaning armored transporter, refers to a series of Soviet and post-Soviet wheeled or tracked amphibious APCs, armored personnel carriers.
Okay, so it is an APC. It's not the G.I. Joe APC or the other G.I. Joe something APC.
So we're introduced on page 1 to the team.
Yeah.
Duke, the big guy is Roadblock. Downrange, the sniper, R.C., our drone specialist, along with 2 Borovians, Captain Osenko, and the forward operations sergeant Kovalchuk, the BTR driver.
I think that first guy, I think there's one more syllable. I think it's Osenenko. Yes. Captain Osenenko. Sorry, please continue.
So we're introduced to them. The first panel is very Hammerism. Let's name who's there. First panel is inside the BTR. It's sort of illuminated in red, and then we get a bit more of a closer look of some of the occupants of the vehicle. It's at first glance, I was a little bit. I had to concentrate a little bit harder to figure out who was who, because Duke doesn't look like a typical Duke. He's very much the Mooneyham version of Duke. If you look at his face, particularly that panel on the bottom of page 2, but he's got a kind of beanie hat. It's in a cold environment. It's snowing outside. We get it. They need to dress for a warm environment. And Roadblock also, again, he's not wearing his sort of typical Roadblock, looking outfit, although he is holding his signature weapon. But he's looking slightly more like a bigger version of Tundra Ranger Stalker there. So I was slightly confused about who was who, because we've got 2 new Joes that we don't necessarily know what they look like, and also the 2 Borovians as well. So I did have to pay a little bit of attention to figure out who was who initially.
I will agree, and that continued for me several pages in. As much as like sci-fi or like Tripwire necessarily might not be on this mission, if they immediately have a very different visual for their face. They've got goggles or a certain kind of helmet. And I know Roadblock is a black guy and he's got a mustache, and Duke is a white guy and he's not as big and he doesn't have a mustache. But they're the muted palette of Segala combined with the realistic colors of everyone, Duke and Roadblock's costumes here, combined with they're in a vehicle where everything's red. I also had to pay attention. And that's why I kind of wish the Mooneyham cover was just the main cover, like really lock it in for me. Who are these two new Joes? Oh, she's in sort of green or beige and he's in sort of white with a little bit of blue. Although I do want to talk about their costume designs with you in a moment. Similarly, of these three non-player characters, Kowalchuk, Lomazau, and Osanenko, the two men both have very similar helmets and faces, and one has a mustache and I think a 5 o'clock shadow, where the other has a mustache and kind of a beard. But I had a hard time telling them apart, and they show up a few times each. So I'm not going to, this isn't like points off, unclear. This is more that I just needed to pay attention. And as much as I love Francesco Segala's color treatment on this book, if Duke just had like a yellow coat, so that refers to his like yellow shirt that is not in this scene because he's in the Arctic. I just want one more thing. Or no hat. And then it's like, oh, well, there's Duke's haircut. Okay. This first panel on page 2, the brushstrokes on the bottom left of this armored personnel vehicle, where the snow is, and then the tires, and then the dirt. I saw this panel and I just thought, oh, this is full Joe Kubert. This isn't like, oh, Mooneyham draws a lot like Joe Kubert. Oh, Mooneyham went to the Kubert school. This panel just looks like Kubert inked it, which is wonderful. And then I've said this twice before in previous episodes, Mooneyham's art and faces are now leaning more towards Adam Kubert, which I think is wonderful because Adam Kubert is super talented and I love his stuff. And that's happening on this page, like that Roadblock. And so as Mooneyham gets better and better and more comfortable drawing this series, certain influences are coming out even more. And, that makes this issue feel that much more of a treat.
Yeah. And this,
and there are like 4 more panels in the issue where it's like, no, this just looks like Joe Kubert inked it with a brush.
And this is very much a focus on, it's a spotlight, it's a way of showcasing these newly invented characters from Hama, and it's a kind of a delight to me that the Hama still keeps on creating new characters, because he definitely doesn't have to. There's a lot of G.I. Joe characters that already exist, but you think of some of the newer characters that he's created over the recent years, like Multo and Mongoose and Sherlock, and he seems to be enjoying coming back to those characters as well as sort of introducing them and playing with them, and not being just nestled in pure nostalgia and playing with the toys in the box that already exist. So we've got a drone operator and a sniper. So it is a drone and sniper issue, which if you started watching when I played the jingle, I called out in my little song to tee us off. But drones and snipers, I've got an I Spy for you, Tim.
I spy with my little eye.
Tim, in this issue, how many times are the words drone or drones or snipers used? Let's start with drone first.
I'm going to say 10.
This is my count, so I might be slightly out, one or two out, but I counted 23 drones.
Okay. And snipers, I'll say 8.
Yes. 8 exactly was my count. Slightly fewer, but definitely a drone and sniper. issue. It felt like we do have quite a few snipers in the G.I. Joe world, so it didn't feel like there was necessarily a speciality that was missing there from not having enough snipers. That, we've obviously got low light. There's crosshairs that Larry hasn't really used before. He was using long range as a previous sniper in his issues at IDW a few times, and then also we had Shooter, who was introduced in G.I. Joe Declassified, where she was killed in that her first appearance, and one of very, very few. And so it feels a little bit like maybe Larry's making up for that he feels bad for killing off Shooter so early, and let's get another female sniper into the team to kind of fill that gap. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely noticed an analog to Shooter, and I both appreciate and am excited by new characters, because it's something new for him to do and react to, and maybe there'll be toys. That's not, to me, that's not the motivation, but we all understand what G.I. Joe is, right? It's a toy line, it's an IP, and to the extent that Hama is in the Marvel run, several times a year he had to introduce specific characters and vehicles, because that's what was being advertised, and those were the toys that were arriving at stores at that time, like in the spring, in the summer, in the fall. And that was the rule for that book. And if you couldn't write that in that book, you weren't going to write that book. And there was always tension, might be too strong, but I'll just use that word. There was always a tension sort of in the whole of Marvel G.I. Joe, because kids, I think, wanted to see the new toys and the new characters show up. People who've been reading the book felt like their favorite characters, their favorite toys were getting pushed out. Hama felt, and he wrote a letter to Hasbro saying this, there are too many characters and there's too much repetition. How many times do we need another communications guy? And Hasbro, whether directly or indirectly, responded, and that's when you have, over some years, more new versions of old characters, right? But part of the joy of the Marvel G.I. Joe is that, like, Larry could never get bored, because every couple of months it's like, well, you got to put this crazy vehicle in, and this Birdman accountant lawyer bad guy, right? It's like, what am I going to do with this? It's like, well, I got to figure it out. And it's possible that the IDW run, all 10 years of it, or 11 years of it, suffers for not having that sort of, that limitation, right? Like that if Hama can use any character he wants and ignore every character he wants, and can just focus on like the popular 9 or 10, which might be more fun for established readers, might be more interesting because he can do more with them, might be easier because he knows them so well, but you don't get this sort of spice, right? It's like, well, how about a new weird vehicle or a new crazy costume and specialty that you have to make work? And so I have appreciated in the IDW era and now some new characters. But when I saw the cover, Chris Mooneyham's cover, revealing these two characters, the first thing that I thought was, in terms of character design and toy design, they look a little bit like characters that I already know, which is not to say that there's anything wrong with them or that this shouldn't be done. But if you didn't tell me that that was someone named Downrange, I just would have thought that was Lady J. Because she's got a hat and Lady J's hair, sort of, and she's in green, and she doesn't have a javelin, but hey, on the cover to this issue, Lady J's holding a machine gun and not her javelin, right? And it's like, no, you can be really technical. It's like, no, well, Lady J has a very specific hat with a very specific insignia on it. Sure. So I'm sort of thinking, like, I wish in the sort of the overall process, someone had picked like one more thing, one more color or accessory that would make Downrange look 20% more distinct, right? Because I look at Helix, and I've never thought oh, is that Scarlet with a wig? It's like, no, that is a completely different character. So I don't know if it's like a yellow belts or like tall yellow boots or like something that's not all kind of green, whatever it is. And then I look at RC and I think, cool, we don't have a Joe drone operator, but this costume does remind me of DJ. And I've always had a soft spot for DJ because he appeared like once or 0 times, and he's one of these costumes that's like too sci-fi for G.I. Joe, like sci-fi actually. And I've always wanted someone to, I've always wanted someone to do more with him. So I think I just wanted like one more color and accessory pop for these 2 new characters. But in terms of their specialty, it's like, no, we can have our 4th sniper. That's fine. Because, the Joe team has like 7 communications specialists, and like 5 Marines and 2 scuba guys. Like, it's fine. So the real solution here is that they need to show up more, and I can see them do more stuff, and I can fall in love with them. And then Hasbro can make a toy.
Yeah, I think Downrange falls down, because of, I guess, the slightly more generic military look to her that sort of doesn't stand out in the way that if that was a toy in the 1980s, it would have something that really makes it different and pop. And it certainly is more military realistic for a sniper. The sniper in the orange day glow, jumpsuit or whatever you want to be able to camouflage in, etc. But and have suitable kit like extra magazines on your chest, whatever. But as a G.I. Joe type design, it's maybe just a little bit too muted. RC definitely looks less like a generic military man, and it's nice that we get him fleshed out in that file card, which we're promised will continue on into the future.
And they didn't say it, but we can absolutely assume that Larry wrote it.
Absolutely, and calling out the Eat Special 10-pound burrito challenge from Boyle Heights is definitely the kind of thing that you would expect to see from Larry Hama. And I did do a bit of Google research to see the special 10-pound burrito. It does look marvelous. It's interesting as well that we've got a drone operator here, which really is, in terms of modern military conflicts, you definitely think of drones being so important to that, and so it does absolutely make sense that Larry would want to include that. It's also funny that we've seen like drone operators in Classified, because Firefly, modern Firefly now has a drone with his accessories, but then we've also from Operation Recall, we've now got Ritello, which is Carson Metaxas' invention of his character, who is sort of a drone operator. So it's fun to see those kind of parallels. I'll share that Greg Augustin made a vintage style a G.I. Joe file card that you might have found on the back of a toy for R.C. and filled in a few of the blanks that weren't there on the card itself about specialities and so on. And he also pointed out he's not the first drone operator to be in A Real American Hero, that in ARAH issue 260 and 261, there was a drone operator called Joystick, but the key difference being that he was a remote drone operator. A little bit more of, if you were thinking a few years back when thinking about drones, that they might be large, long distance kind of autonomous kind of vehicles, whereas modern day drones are much smaller and much more frontline based weapons of war. So interesting. Good spot, Greg, because I had certainly forgotten about Joystick.
Yes, and I look forward to what are we, 6 years and counting, using the Dawn timeline for a Joystick action figure from Hasbro. This issue has some great action. Characters are jumping, and they're jinking
and weaving. They're jinking. So I did look up to double check what jinking, how it was defined. So jinking is moving quickly, nimbly, and evasively to avoid obstacles or pursuers, often involving sudden changes in directions, synonymous with dodging, sidestepping, or zigzagging to bypass something. So jink is kind of the quick, sharp turning, and weave is twisting and side to siding. So that's what what we're calling it, a BPR, or is it that? What is that the name of that Korean K-pop band?
BTR is in the G.I. Joe comic, yes.
Okay. So Duke jumps out. This was a little bit surprising. Duke jumps out of the back of the BTR with a shotgun to take out these drones. I don't know how conventional this is, but as the BTR is jinking to avoid the weaponry, he takes some of them out with his shotgun, and it is R.C. who takes out the final one with his handheld shotgun. It feels very old school meets new military shotgun versus drones. This next segment I really thought was a great sort of little hammerism here, that when they were talking about hiding their vehicle, that hide in plain sight works best out here. So they've opened up the hatches of the vehicle and they're setting a theatrical smoke generator running. So there's all of the smoke coming out of their vehicle looking like it's been knocked out by fire and can be ignored, but actually it's already there. Oh yeah, it was BTS. That's the K-pop band. Thanks Diana.
Which does not stand for behind the scenes. I believe the acronym from Korean roughly translates to something like it's like Boy Scout Club, right? Or like best kid fans, something like that. Okay. Do you have the next page?
Yep.
Man, look at that background. Look at that negative space that Mooneyham is carving. Can you zoom in? Because it's breaking up a little bit at this size. Mooneyham is drawing trees by not drawing trees. He's drawing trees by drawing diagonal lines freehand around them in the negative space. So the positive space of the trees becomes kind of a negative space. Just totally awesome. And then what's happening on both these pages, the previous one and the current one, is, there you go. Mooneyham's also just drawing these white bands, these diagonal white bands across the page, which I think is wind. And he did not invent this, but I feel like I haven't really seen this in comics much ever, or in a long time. And here right now we see one of these bands sort of behind the flag, and then on this bombed out tank, and then one in front of it. And it also, I mean, there's snow and there's muted colors and they're all wearing coats, but these white bands to me say a chilling wind. Here's another really wonderful Hama-ism on the bottom of this page, where someone says, "This spot will be perfect. Good overhang and deep shadows," right? And that's a small Hama-ism, but a nice bit of storytelling that in the previous panel, Mooneyham has drawn a tank, which is sort of diagonal, so you could hide under it. And now here they are hiding under it. This issue felt like, did we say this already? It felt like an 80s special missions issue, because they're not dealing with Cobra. They're not in the States. They are dealing with one or two or three sort of other agency or other national characters. It's like a CIA guy, or 3 people from the Borovian resistance. And it was, we think, self-contained. And so in that regard, I really liked it. But I did, I know you've all heard me say this a bunch. And we've now had 20-page comics in G.I. Joe for a long time. So I probably still can't say, I wish this was 22 pages like Marvel and Devils do. But I wish this was 22 pages. And I do feel like at the end, I sort of felt, it's not a rushed ending, but I do feel like my muscle memory of the 1980s version of this story with 2 more pages would have just had one more thing happen, or one more bit of choreography could have been slowed down and really hit home. I would also like to point out on pages, all right, the trees are page 7, and then page 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's another Hamaism that was, this is the kind of thing that I just don't get in any other comic book that I read, right? And also I don't read any other comics that are like team action war comics. But hey, the Downrange says, Duke says, "Can you see the sniper?" And she says, "Put your spotter scope on the top floor of the admin building. Something is not kosher there." And then we see a POV of what she sees through the scope, and we see this building, and we're looking up at it slightly, and we see that it has 3 windows on the top that are light, and 2 windows that are like shot out, but they're dark. And she says the roof, and we see a collapsed roof, and she says the roof has collapsed, so we can see daylight through most of the windows. 2 windows are unnaturally dark. The shooter is behind one of the dark windows, set up way back in the room on a table to get a good firing angle. And I feel like that's 4 to 6 different facts about combat, snipers, damage assessments, this kind of military expertise that motors this comic, not this issue, every issue, along. And Hama either knows because he reads a ton, or is learning because he reads a ton, or is like figuring out because he's writing the story. And it's like, well, what would a sniper do? Well, do I know any snipers, or can I read about snipers, or did I see a movie about a sniper? And a Batman comic and an X-Men comic a writer might never think to do this kind of thing because they don't need to, because like Batman can just fire his grappling hook and like slightly defy the laws of physics, and the X-Men can like teleport there. And I always appreciate Hama setting up a little puzzle that a character has to solve and explain it to me. And then I feel smart. And then I can say, Hama's smart. And it's realistic. And if it's not realistic, it's grounded. So I think that's in terms of story, I think that's my favorite panel or two of the issue. You know, like, wait, the sniper's on a bed, like backed up from the window, like, because the angle, and we've talked about how Hama will, you traverse the turrets, the down shooting angle, we have to crawl up under it because they can't see us. All right.
Yeah, so I feel like I've seen that in maybe one of the modern sniper films or something, where the sniper, they're backed up away, so they're sort of less out of sight. They're in a very stable position, because like I guess the temptation would be like you've got the sniper rifle just by the window, maybe even out of the window, sort of giving away the position, but back away from the window in the dark on an elevated position, makes a lot of sort of grounded military sense. And it's very much literally in the trenches. We sort of see the POV of Roadblock down there in an actual trench. It's not something that we often see in sort of from a military realism point of view for G.I. Joe. I'm thinking of, it definitely has featured a few times. I'm thinking of, for example, issue number 11, where you had kind of that team hunkered down under enemy fire, and they've got a replacement squad of the new Joes to come in and kind of be the relief for them, and point your head out too far out of the trench, or out in a firing position of the sniper, and potentially it's gonna it's gonna be bad for you, as is the case for Kovalchuk.
Look at what Segala does. Just knocks out Kovalchuk totally in red, right? Which picks up on the blood that we know is happening, but also the surprise and the violence of it. And it doesn't read as a mistake. It doesn't read as, it's like, no, this is just part of the language of comics. You can have the other panels on this page all colored realistically, and then you can do this one unrealistic, very stylized thing. And maybe if this was the first comic you'd ever read, you'd say, oh, what happens? Is he glowing like in a video game when you're damaged? Like, no. This is what comics do. But I love it. And then it slightly continues into the next panel, although he's somewhat covered by a word balloon. That word balloon where Duke says, I don't see the flash. he is now slumped over backwards dead, and he's got some sort of reddish color on him, I think, which is both the blood and also just sort of the lingering effect of the not literal knockout, the coloring effect. And then am I jumping too far ahead if I get to page 12?
That's is that the one with the tank at the top?
Yes, and the sound effect says wham, right? Okay, so I think that this has to be Mooneyham, right? I don't think this is Hama, and it isn't Brousseau. But look at panels 3, 4, 5, 6, right? They are the four the 4 panels are the sound effect boom. And Mooneyham did not invent this. He's not the first person to do it. He might not even be the first person to do this in G.I. Joe comics. But it's just so evocative and fun that you can take this, because that could have just been one big rectangular panel with all the same art. But what he's doing, and again, he didn't invent this, whether this is 4 panels or 4 panels that are each a letter spelling a sound effect word. But what he's doing, or what, right, you were right. Is this issue 16 for Marvel?
Thereabouts, yeah. It's the one where the his tank gets blown up with the Baroness inside and has her glasses pinging off into the bottom left-hand corner of the B of Bwam.
Okay, now this one from issue 16 with the Baroness we don't see here. This is a panel made up out of a sound effect. And Mooneyham is making 4 panels out of the 4 letters of a sound effect. Can you go back to the boom close-up? Yep. And again, I'm not saying he didn't invent this, but what this does is it separates these 4 bits of dialogue from these 4 characters into 4 separate moments. And I'm sort of guessing that Hama wasn't breaking this down in his plots, that Mooneyham broke up like these sentences into these sort of more like sort of character moments, and then Hama like responds with very specific dialogue, because so-and-so gets one, Roadblock gets one, Duke gets one. Just a lot of fun. And yet you know that it's still like all kind of the same moment. It's like kind of one big panel, not actually 4 separate panels, because the first guy, is it Osinenko? I can't remember who went with this team. His hand crosses into the second panel, and Roadblock's hand and arm cross from the third panel into the second panel. So it's, when you are drawing comics, when you're laying out a page, the amount of time and space that happens between panels can be very big or very small, and it can also kind of be 0, even though you are literally you were spatially drawing a division. This is cool. I like it. Oh, and then just lots of fun sound effects, right? Wham on this page, kaboom, whir, whoosh, and whir bam. Comics, cool. Folks. Comics.
Comics.
Right.
I'll call out. We're running long on this episode just because of the sheer amount of news that we had at the front end of it. Normally we try and finish at the 2-hour point so that we can hand over to Chris McLeod for the Full Force Weekly. Chris is at Toy Fair today, so he is not doing the weekly today. That was yesterday that he did his normal Full Force Weekly. So
Mark and I are going another 2 hours, because you would just watch Chris for 2 hours, right?
So you don't have to have anxiety that you're watching us instead of Chris this week, because I do not believe that he will be on for a little bit until he's back at his hotel room and has edited his footage from Toy Fair. So for the very latest news, check out Full Force when he goes live in probably a couple of hours' time.
Back to you, Mark. What do you want to say about the fight? And these 2 teams have split off, and they're taking out these vehicles, and that building.
Yeah, there's an interesting sort of element of a little bit of repetition, which I guess is sort of pointing to the stationary element of sniping. That it is a waiting game, that you're waiting for them to give away their position, and with your finger ready on the trigger to do it, to pull it as that happens. Because when I was looking at my images for in preparation for this one, I was like, oh, I've saved down the same page twice, but it's just looking at the small images of a couple of these pages. They do look very visually similar in terms of that close up of the building on the bottom page. On the bottom of this particular page, we see a few pages earlier. I'll just flick back to that to show you that bottom.
Mooneyham has copied and pasted 2 panels from 13 to 15.
And then similarly, we see a very similarly striking point of view of that enemy sniper laid out on a table in his darkened sniping room. So there's a lot of visual similarity across these sniping sequences with the watching, waiting, ready to strike, which I don't think is laziness. I think it's a sort of an interesting storytelling, dramatic technique, and you kind of feel there with Downrange, as she is sort of patiently waiting for this guy to give himself away, and it. I don't know if you noticed this, Tim, but once the Joe team split off, you get a one page dynamic flicking between the drone operators and the snipers as they're sort of dealing with their situations, which will probably come across a little bit better in the printed version versus a digital one, where that is less kind of obvious to the reader. But it's a nice ping-ponging between those two teams and their different and escalating situations.
Good catch. I did not see that.
Was Barking Fridge asked, was the tooth in the script? I wonder. It's a nice little bit of visual flair to this technique on this sniper. You don't see necessarily masses of him. It's sort of you see him on, from his back lie down, and then you see these striking ultra close POV of his sort of snarling mouth with this singular gold tooth, and then as he, as the bullet strikes him for the first time, you see the tooth again, and then I think no, that might be the last time you see it.
Yeah, Hama and or Mooneyham are withholding a proper full view of the bad guy sniper's face. It's obstructed, or it's cropped out completely, or the camera's just all the way around, and you only see him from the back. I think to accentuate either that he's a bad guy and that's enough, or that he's anonymous or unknown, that the Joes sort of don't know who he is and exactly where he is, and it's Downrange gets this great line where she says something like, "We just have to assume I got him, but we won't know," which is cool.
Yeah. At one point she says, "Sometimes you just can't confirm. I have a gut feeling I hit him, but I will keep my reticle," I don't know how you pronounce that, "on the window." And then she follows up with a second shot a couple of pages later, I guess, as he sort of staggers from that first wound towards the open window, where she finally gets a better view as to what's going on.
One more bit on your observation of even and odd pages, one page each for these two subplots. On page 20, 19, 18, 17, the top half of it is for one team, and the bottom half of it is for the other team.
That one?
It's got the giant wump. Next page.
The next page.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's where it's like graphically converges.
Oh, right. Converges. I see. Yeah. And I guess it's the it's the culmination kind of those two separate storylines, that you've got the tank blowing up and the sniper being taken down. And
then what maybe everyone's been hoping since page 1 is Roadblock going to do a Roadblock thing. Is he going to lift something big and heavy? Is he going to bully someone or punch someone harder because he's such a big guy? Is he going to use his really big weapon that only he can carry because it's so heavy. And he's not just going to use it, he's going to use it to like take something out or really stop something. And Hama, I think, knowing that Roadblock is a favorite character of many people, and maybe also feeling like Hama, hasn't given Roadblock a lot to do recently, gives this almost 2 full pages of Roadblock firing and being a roadblock, right? He stops the vehicle from progressing any further. And then Hama even sort of gives it like a punchline for the final page. Or I guess, yeah, where it's sort of like so Roadblock's suppression fire or stopping power, whatever it is, not only stops this 4th vehicle that they didn't catch because it was behind the other ones, the vehicle sort of crashes forward and flips, right? So it's going so fast and maybe it like hits a little ditch. It's got so much momentum. I don't know if that would really happen, but objection, Your Honor, overruled. I'll accept it. And then you get this panel where, like, Gleep, Roadblock sees that this giant hunk of metal is flying upside down, flipping towards them, and he jumps, and the other characters are reacting. And then on the final page, you get this sort of, release of tension. You can exhale, you can sort of chuckle because the vehicle has smashed down almost into their trench, but not so far that it smushed them. And it's on fire and smoldering. And Roadblock gets what's probably the best line of the issue, as much as I like some of the nuts and bolts in previous pages. He says, they don't classify the Mondoos as anti-vehicular for nothing. And I think, oh, well, now I get to be smart because I didn't know that. So either that's a real thing and Hama is like educating us with a little bit of this gear stuff that he finds interesting, or he's inventing it. And that's okay, because in this comic, people clone and come back from the dead. Mm-hmm. And also, it's a good punchline, even if it's not quite real. And I'm actually going to assume it is real. And then, as much as I want 2 more pages, as if this was a comic published in the 80s or 90s or, early 2000s, Hama and Mooneyham cram a lot onto the final page, which has 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 panels. That actually might be my light argument that this does get a little, I don't want to say rushed, but I'll say dense at the very end. But sort of one last danger, one last threat, right? They've taken out all vehicles. They've been aware of sort of, we stopped the driver of the vehicle, but the vehicle's still going, or we stopped the sniper, we think, right? And we've stopped this final thing. But the hatch pops open and a Darklonian bad guy comes out and he pulls a grenade out of his coat and he gets shot. And then those 2 panels 9, 8, 7, 6 and 7, panels 6 and 7, I needed to like pay attention to. I'm going to call them not unclear, but could have been clear. In falling down into the hatch of his APC, he drops the grenade and it goes in with him and then blows up and takes him out. And then you get the closure. Where did that shot come from? And in the second to last panel of the entire comic book, you see Duke and, importantly, Downrange way in the distance, and she's holding her rifle and it's smoking. And then you get these final 2 bits of dialogue where, like, the Joes now, there was no question. It's not that they were like, I don't know if we accept the newbie, but they accept her because if you're a Joe, you're the best of the best. And then like one last little bit of Hama, like military, interesting realism, sort of educational stuff. R.C. says, standing, and he's saying this in awe, right? He's saying this sort of for our benefit, right? Standing unsupported at 100 yards, and she went for a headshot. Right. And made it. And Roadblock, kind of looking at us, says, I mean, he's looking past us. She's a firecracker, all right. And so I feel like
Tim, but did she do that from a moving vehicle into a Darklonian gulag? I'm referring back to G.I. Joe issue number 12 in the Energon universe. For Olympic sniper shooter.
It's not different. Importantly, different writers, different continuities, different editors. So there's no reason why the editor of one book would say to the editor of the other book, you're like, hey, do you have a sniper scene? Like, oh, let's make sure ours aren't too similar. Or like, oh, well, now I'm going to have my writer rewrite his to top yours. Good issue, and sort of not what I thought we were going to get out of an anniversary issue, but as I hopefully demonstrated at the beginning when I held up these three props, we don't actually necessarily get, anniversary issues. We don't get anniversary issues at 25s. And then in the letters page, Alex Antone is back, and we get 3 pages of letters and 1 page of that file card, which means they have taken out a page of ads to give us a page of content, which I appreciate, rather than taking out a page of comics or a page of the letters.
And in the letter page, I think there's a first, which is first time that a picture of someone's toilet has appeared in the pages of G.I. Joe. But it's always good to have firsts. And so, what else? What else in the letter page? There was an interesting one, which they said that we'll have file cards until further notice. So I think that's basically, an extra page of G.I. Joe, really, isn't it? It's not a story, but that's a great way of extending the value of this comic. Because
when the Marvel run ran profile pages, the comics were shorter.
Oh, okay.
They weren't taking out ads.
Okay, I'll have to look at that next time I go and look back on those issues.
Yes.
And another interesting one from the letters page was that Alex Antone said, I think we were all experiencing a little bit of Serpentor fatigue, so we're giving it a rest for a little bit. Don't worry, though, we haven't forgotten. Which is to say, I think we'll see less Serpentor for a little while with that clone Serpentor subplot with Dr. Mindbender having him on chill, and maybe we'll see him in 50 issues time instead. Who knows?
I'm all out of I'm all out. I got it. Everything I wanted to say.
Good. Yeah, I think me too. So great issue. Sort of flicking to what is to come in the back of the book. We have got a 1-page summary of the upcoming silent missions with a sibilant silent featuring Baroness, Crimson Guard, Zartan, Copperhead, Firefly. And also a little ad for the Volume 1 TPB to trade paperback to flash back to this time last year and see what happened in the first silent missions. But a great little lineup there. Looking forward to seeing what those creators will bring to the world of G.I. Joe. They've also got adverts for upcoming Transformers. So Transformers 29 just out. We might talk about that in our next Energon discussion. More G.I. Joe from the Energon universe. Issue number 19 is out this coming week at time of recording, February the 18th. Void Rivals will continue the Quintesson War with a promise that we might see Pythona in the next part, which is February the 25th. But most importantly, the mission continues March 11th, 2026, with the next issue of Real American Hero, brought to us by guest artist Andrew Crunky, rhymes with donkey, and new cover artist Lee Weeks. So we've seen a couple of his covers so far. So I think they're planning to have him on a run. Will he last for the next 25 issues up to 350? We shall see.
Folks, if you like Andrew Crunky drawing 80s characters, take note that he is drawing the He-Man story for Dark Horses, or one of Dark Horse's free comic book day comics this year. it's there are two distributors working with Free Comic Book Day, and only one is using the name Free Comic Book Day, and the other it's Comics Giveaway Day, but it's still Free Comic Book Day. So if you like that guy drawing not just G.I. Joe characters, but fantasy muscle men from other toy companies, go to your comic book store first Saturday in May and pick that up.
Very good. And also on the next issue of G.I. Joe Real American Hero 326, there will be an Invincible month variant cover. So we'll talk about that when it comes out. But this one is brought to us by Chris Mooneyham. So the Mooneyham cover will be the Invincible crossover cover, which is a pan image initiative where we'll see a lot of interesting takes on G.I. Joe, but also other image properties crossing over on the front cover with the characters from Invincible, celebrating the release of the latest series of the animated show. And
Skybound's doing a reprint of issue 1 of Invincible for Invincible month, I believe.
Sorry, say that again?
Skybound is printing a new version of Invincible #1.
Okay.
That's the sort of publishing part of it. I think it's the original issue 1 with a new cover or a foil cover or something.
Yeah, I think I've seen, possibly they're doing a few variants of that. I saw an interesting Omni-Man one just earlier today, sort of clutching sort of a skeleton head and spine in a sort of Predator-esque kind of fashion. Gory. I think that is us pretty much done with G.I. Joe Real American Hero issue 325. And if you want to check out, be like one of the cool kids like R.C. and eat a giant burrito, I'm trying to find my comments. The place to check out is El Tepeyac Cafe in Boyle Heights. They're the people who bring you that £10 burrito. We'll check them out on one of their social medias. It's delightful to see. It's cardiac inducing, I'm sure. Magnum Rex popped in. He said, I think this was the best issue in years. We need more of the 1 to 2 story arcs. I would have preferred Lowlight to the new characters, especially when she looks just like Lady J. Yeah, fair enough. There is a choice of snipers to be had. I thought it was a great issue. It was not necessarily an anniversary issue in the sense of the culmination of some big storyline that had been building up or that kind of thing, but just having a great, well-written, incredibly drawn story like this is never a bad thing. So I'm already looking forward to the next time that Chris Mooneyham might return to the brand. Please, don't let it be too long. And
I'm looking forward to 350, which had better be double sized.
Very good. Tim, can you remind us of places that you can be found when you're not talking to me about G.I. Joe?
Yeah, YouTube at Atomic Abe for videos, Hub Comics, a store near Boston, and I write about G.I. Joe at my blog, realamericanbook.com. Larry Hama is signing at that store, Hub Comics, on Saturday, February 21st.
Very good. And if you are new to Talking Joe, you can find us over at talkingjoe.co.uk. That is the website, and it links to all of the places that we can be found, like Facebook, where you can get involved in the discussion. That's where I also share all of the latest comic book news. So if you want to see the latest G.I. Joe comics news, that's the place to go to see it first. Thanks as well to all of our Patreon members. They went to patreon.com/talkingjoe and signed up. So a big thanks to Patrick, Sam, Shane, Simon, Chris, Joe, Craig, D, Shane V2. This one has got a drone. Infinite Entertainment, Patrick, Gary V, Coldroff, B, and latest member Bango Skank. They are getting early and ad-free access to episodes as well as some exclusive content. I'm planning to do a Dawn explainer with the release of the classified Dawn figure. I will do a little mini episode that talks about the background to Dawn and drop that. And as always, the Patreon members will get to see that first. So there we go. I think we are done. I've done my list. I've done the shout outs. I feel, Tim, am I forgetting something?
Yes, we need to thank everyone for sticking with us an extra 23 minutes since we really did go long. Also, Nobody Beats Talking Joe. Oh, the other way. Nobody Beats Talking Joe, an international podcast.
Ladies, everybody. Thanks for joining us.